Hello and welcome back to the Gaelic River. This is Dresden's Tale, episode 40. This is chapter 38 as we make our way through part 2 of volume 2. This is the show where we follow Dresden Fane, dwarf, warlock, master of guilt, sorrow, and misfortune. Our story exists in the turbulent violence of the Keld culture, where the future belongs to the strong. And I'm your guide, Lewis Nichols. Boats. We're on a river. Do we want to talk about boats? It's probably a bad idea. There really isn't much to say. In 2052, the Kelds are not exactly a seagoing people. The Laraquesh and Iterians have huge advantages in all things naval. Luckily, on most planes, it doesn't make much of a difference. The Eastern Alliance calls their go-to design the Stone Brig. Most of these clunkers are made in Parncilia. The Campbells fare a little better with a slightly sleeker design. They're great for coastal patrols, but not the open sea. Finally, the Black Flags are starting to etch out a lead with the Northern Slough, something akin to what most of you probably think of as an early galley. Did you know you can sail between the planes? Dresden doesn't. It's not exactly a secret, so I don't mind telling you. Oh, and it's not easy at all. At the moment, Kelds are having about a 20% success rate. Failure often ends in disaster. Out beyond the edges of the Moldav map are great storms that affect not only the plane, but the ethereal meniscus. Cross that, and maybe you can figure out how to cross again into someplace new. Freaky stuff, eh? Speaking of freaky, our boy Dresden is having a bad day. We find him on the 11th day of Ebba, 2,052 years after the fall. You look like axe-slapped crap. The couple from the ship looked him over. Through his swollen eye, he wasn't sure which one was which. The male cleared his throat. Perhaps you shouldn't have dared him to hit you again. Dresden tried to shake the cobwebs out of his head. Wobbly-kneed, he managed to stand. A hand gripped his shoulder, and he tried to ward it off, but failed. A second later, he felt warm and somehow bright. He exhaled. Straightening, he took a better look at the two. The male, now obviously a priest of Samtha by his robes, beamed at him with an obnoxious smile. "They blamed you for putting us ashore," the man said. Dresden had received magical healing once or twice, but usually the thrill of battle was still upon him. This time, he fully experienced the sudden rush of well-being. His head cleared, the swelling disappeared. A festering splinter had even expelled itself from his hand. "Yeah, I figured that. I'd have probably beat me too." "Why are you helping?" The woman spoke angrily. "Because they thought we were with you. And since we need 3 to set a proper watch and still get a little sleep, you are now with us." "That's fine, but I better go alone. I'm not very good company." She hit him hard in the temple, knocking him back to the ground. "I'm not giving you a choice. Start walking." Even in the day, the sun cast little more than an eerie twilight in the land of Tarikia. Every day it was getting a little higher, but was still far from its summer nest over the Trojans. Even then, Dresden knew it would be low in the sky compared to the perspective in Parncilia. Every day he traveled was farther north than he had ever been before. Ahead of them, the trail was clear at first, but after just a few hours, foot traffic began to build. Deathbeard hadn't given up, but others did. That's what really pissed everybody off. After the first boatload, they'd put off another, then inexplicably continued upriver. Dresden hid from the rabid crowd for a night, but a few didn't give up until they caught him that morning. "I'm Orn," the priest told him, "and this is Sophia. She'll come around after a while. Look, I heard what happened to you. It'll get better, you know?" Dresden didn't feel like talking about it. "You look. There's enough people around for you to have your watches tonight, so just make some new friends. I'm going it alone." The plan sounded great, but he couldn't seem to get separated from them. First, he thought to outpace them, but it took an hour to make any distance. Then, when he stepped into the weeds to take a piss, He came back out to find himself just behind them. Letting them get ahead didn't work out either. He fumed, thinking they had intentionally been sticking close. At any given time now, they shared the road with 10 to 20 warriors trudging along with whatever they could carry. It was getting more crowded by the mile, and they often passed large ships, anchored and unloading soldiers eager for the war. For a second, Dresden's heart stopped. He saw her, Leith, standing there, helping a human in chainmail out of the boat. It wasn't her, but another Ranayan. He moved away as quick as he could, without looking the fool. To be marching along with her, what a dream. Off to war with his love, the two of them battling heretics, destroying the enemies of the clan. They'd been allowed so little time together, only enough to fall in love, then torn apart even before considering what a life together might have been like. They could have had children through surrogates, maybe lesser spouses. He didn't like the sounds of it, but they could adopt. There were always children taken by conquest in need of good parents. Dresden's thoughts were a swirl. But what if she'd have wanted to have a child of her own blood? Could I have ever stood by while another man made himself the father? We could have worked it out. Our relationship was between equals, wasn't it? That's sweet, but we all know who the badass is in this relationship. It sounded so condescending now. Hey! Dresden found himself on the ground. Sophia turned on him. Hey yourself, you ran into me. Well, why did you stop in the road? Because everyone else did, stupid. Looking around, Dresden realized she was right. Out in the river, Campbell barges had halted all upriver traffic bigger than a longboat. Deathbeard's brig sat anchored. Well, you were right after all. They haven't even started unloading yet, Orrin slapped him on the back. But we're stuck all the same, Sophia pointed out. Dresden spotted an unused tower and climbed it. Orrin and his companion followed, making for a crowded view. Typical Stone Clan, the two Tagara didn't think twice about rubbing up close. What's that? Orrin asked. I don't see anything, Dresden admitted. Sophia scoffed. I told you he was blind. It's just a deer trail. No, look, Orrin insisted. There's a tree line back beyond the field. That's another road. You're nuts, she complained. Dresden started down. Thanks, Orrin. That's where I'm going. Follow if you want. Where are you going? Another warrior yelled at the trio as they followed a pathetic path away from the river. Don't, Dresden started. Orrin called back. There's another road. Away from the river. It should be faster. Half an hour later, they came off the trail onto a farm road used by the locals. It wouldn't have been much under heavy traffic, but at the moment it was just the three of them and a few others. Thank the gods this is all that heard your hollering. Damn shame if this road was just as clogged as the other one because you couldn't stay quiet. Orrin grumbled. You have no right to be such an ass. I don't care if the shadow demon did. Did what? What did you want to say? Sophia stepped in. Shut up, Orrin. In this case, the little bastard's right. You're lucky you didn't fuck it all up. She looked back at the lucky warriors who had heard. Now let's take this for a blessing it is and haul ass before the rest figure it out. I have to admit, I'm scratching my head a little on this one. Who thinks Orrin and Sophia have a chance at a lasting role in the story? Yeah, I know. I've set you all up for this before, like maybe 8 times now, but eventually it's gonna happen. Probably, maybe, someday. It could be now. Adventuring teens need priests like Orrin, and Sophia isn't completely hopeless. I know what you're thinking. They're just a storytelling tool to allow me to draw parallels with Dresden's relationship with Leith. Guess I've got you fooled. I can't even spell parallel without a spell check. Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't worry about offending me. I mean, really, one of my greatest hopes is that I leave you all annoyed after every single episode. Moral obscurity, failed plot lines, non-recurring characters, bad voice acting. Why are you watching? Whatever the reason, I'm glad you are. Now do the damn stuff. Hit the like button, leave a comment. If you want more, check out my work on Amazon for Kindle. The most important thing is that you chose to spend a little time with me today. I appreciate that. My name is Lewis Nichols, and I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day.